Next, we're going to talk about filling the frame. This is a style choice that is done by positioning more objects in the foreground of the image to create a much fuller shot and draw your eye closer to the subject. The foreground is the front of the image, and the background is the back of the image. Foreground versus background. Pretty standard. You can use almost anything to fill the frame. Some simple examples are branches, trees, light posts, people, and walls. It will all depend on where you're shooting and what is in your nearby surroundings. And remember, photography is resourcefulness. Here's an example of a relatively empty photo. If you've been taking nothing but dead space photos for a while and want to try something new, try filling the frame with different surrounding objects to make it more interesting. And you might need a friend to help you with this one in particular. Whatever you choose to fill a shot with can also help to tell a story. More on this next. Storytelling. If you were to watch a film, you would probably consider it to be a good one if it has a great story, right? Well, the same goes for photos, and this is especially important for photos using people. So, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then let's tell the best story that we can with those words. Whether it's film or photography, you want to bring the viewer on the adventure with you by composing your shots to convey a story. Here's a few common story types to get you thinking. Hero versus what lies ahead. You can use distance and vantage point to portray that you have somewhere to go or an unknown place lies ahead. The use of vantage point helps add a lot more depth to the scene, and the distance helps separate you from where you're going. Hero versus the world. You can use distance and perspective to portray that you are amidst a giant world, or watching it from above. The objective is to make the world seem as big as possible, and you're just a small part of it. When we're children, the world is such a big place, and our eyes tend to look skyward. You can use low angle in your photography to show how big the world really is. It makes you seem like an ant in a jungle. Or you can try high angle to add more depth and give the viewer the perspective that the world is a big place, and as I said, you're just a small part of it. The I'm too cool for the camera. This is an easy one that you can get almost anywhere. If your eyes can bear the blinding sun for a minute, you'll end up with an epic shot that looks like credits are about to start rolling on a movie. This photo is best taken at golden hour, which again is the hour before sunset or the hour after sunrise. Just simply shoot facing into the light and have your subject face into the light as well. Or yourself if you're using a tripod or propping your phone up on something. It pretty much speaks for itself. This is the follow me shot. Here's another easy one if you have a significant other or don't mind holding hands with a stranger. It was popularized by a couple on Instagram in 2015. First person POV and a decent scenery is all you really need to pull off this traveler adventure style photo. Long exposure photography. First, what is it? Well, any camera, whether it's the one on your phone or any other digital or film camera, has what's called a shutter inside it. And when you take a photo, the shutter opens for a split second and then closes. And this allows light to pass through the lens and expose your image. So long exposure photography is when the shutter stays open for a longer period of time. Why is this useful? Well, it allows you to take images like this, where moving objects in the scene draw lines across the image. Or like this, where running water appears to flow like silk. This is because the water is moving while the shutter stays open, and it blurs across the image before the shutter closes. But anything that's not moving will stay perfectly in focus. And believe it or not, this can be done on an iPhone. So let me show you how. So first, just click on the camera app, and then just turn on live photo up at the top right, and then just take a shot. And then view that shot, and then just swipe up. And if you scroll through this little effects list here, you're going to see long exposure over here all the way to the right. Just click on that, and then it's going to instantly blur all of that moving water and give you a beautiful shot. And the reason it does this is because live photo takes multiple pictures and then combines them all into one photo, and anything that's moving is going to be blurred, and then anything that's sitting still is going to stay perfectly in focus. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about macro photography, and I'm going to go outside and show you an example of how I do this myself. So, what is macro? Macro is just a film term for shooting extreme close-up, commonly done on insects and plants and other forms of nature. And back in those film days, you needed a special lens and fancy equipment in order to do this. But now the iPhone has such a small, versatile lens that you can go from shooting far away landscape photography to portraits to macro photography without changing anything. But there are a few things that you can do while shooting macro on your iPhone to get a better shot. I'm going to go outside and show you an example and talk about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, so I found these flowers just in the middle of downtown. You really don't have to go far for a macro shot. And what I'm going to do is click on the number 2 option to switch to a longer lens, which is going to give us a little bit more of a zoom in. And I'm going to find a good flower that has a bunch in the background, and I'm going to click on it to focus on it. And you can also click on the background if you want to focus on the background. But we're going to click on the flower. And then I'm just going to get into a good position and take a shot. And you might want to take a few. And then what I've done is found a couple just pieces of flower or whatever this plant is, and I'm going to use it to put in the bottom of the frame a lot closer to the camera in the foreground. And that's just going to kind of close in the frame and really help drive the eye towards that middle flower. So then just take another shot. And again, just make sure that you take a few shots. And then here is what that shot looks like. And then you can also zoom in on it, and it's going to give you a much closer shot. And you can see there's little water droplets and everything. The iPhone does a really great job with taking macro photos. And here is what that shot looks like completely edited. And I'm also going to be showing you how to edit your photos like this on your phone a little later in this course. Let's go over how to optimize pano mode. Panoramic mode is where your phone takes a series of pictures from left to right or right to left, and it automatically stitches them together to create a 180-degree image of your surroundings. This often looks far too wide and very annoying to post on social media. But there's a trick to using it to create a really stylish wide-angle shot that looks as though you bought a special lens for your phone. Now, if you have one of the newer iPhones with 3 different lenses on it, you can simply open the camera, go to photo mode, and tap the 0.5 button to get a wide angle. But in case you don't have this option, here's a cool trick. Simply open the camera, swipe to slide over to pano mode, tap the shutter, which is the white button, and slide across your subject while keeping your phone as level as possible. And also be sure to go slowly because your camera has to set a new exposure for each picture it takes to make up the full panoramic image. And then tap the white button again to stop wherever you want. If done right, you'll end up with a very GoPro wide-angle style image that can look very professional. This feature can also be used vertically. Just simply turn your phone on its side and repeat the process to take an extra tall wide-angle photo. Keep in mind that the closer you stand to your subject, the better this is going to look. If the base of your subject fills the frame when you start it, it's usually going to end up looking really nice. I use this all the time whenever I photograph architecture.